What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Zen of Story. And today we're going to be talking about probably one of the most hyped up movies of 2020. We're going to be talking about Tenet. Tenet is a movie directed by Christopher Nolan, and it stars John David Washington and Robert Pattinson in the leading roles. And like I said, it is probably the most hyped up movie of 2020, and with good reason. It is a Christopher Nolan movie. And the thing with Nolan movies is it's almost like Chris Nolan has become a genre on his own. Because I think he's one of the few directors who's able to take such high concept, big budget movies and still have something where the audience can latch onto with an emotional core attached to a character, and usually a very strong main character that we can relate to. And that's sort of been the secret sauce that he's followed with all his blockbusters in the last few years. And there's no reason why we could expect anything different. And so when this movie was first announced, then everybody was going crazy. There was analysis videos, there was trailer breakdowns. It was just all over the place. And now the movie's finally here, and I knew I had to watch it at the first chance I could get. So how does it hold up against his other movies? Well, I can say Tenet is a good movie. It's not a great movie, all right? And the reason I'd say that is it's because of what Nolan's known for. He's known for high stakes, big budget movies, but with really strong, memorable characters. And I think that's where this movie loses it a little bit. If you're going into this movie for, what the trailers have been talking about, with it being an espionage thriller movie set in a sci-fi universe, then yeah, you're going to get everything you asked for. And in terms of action and adventure, this movie knocks it out of the park. I mean, there are some set pieces in this movie where my mind was blown, because I just couldn't understand how they created such amazing scenes. And I mean, there's a scene with a plane crash and a BMW reversing on a freeway, and there's a scene right at the end which I'm not going to spoil. But I remember watching this and thinking, this is pure filmmaking at its best, And I think that's why the fans really love Nolan so much, because he really is a purist filmmaker. And yes, there was some CGI, but it's woven in so seamlessly into the scene that I couldn't tell the difference. And in fact, after the movie, there were certain scenes that I thought was CGI, and when I went and actually looked at the behind the scenes, they were actually practical effects. I mean, that's incredible. And I think you really need to highlight the fact that he's one of the few directors doing that today, who's as daring to actually go out there and try these things on a large scale, and just get a feel of what that immersive filmmaking of long ago was like. And that's definitely the strong point of the movie. The action scenes, the adventure, the plot of the movie, yeah, it's just an adrenaline chase the whole way through. But in terms of the plot, I think you can sometimes have too much plot, and you can sometimes lose the audience with so much plot. And I think that's where this movie suffers a little bit. The main thing I would say is take movies that have already been, blockbusters like Inception or Interstellar or the Dark Knight trilogy. All of them had a main character that we could really resonate with, deeply conflicted characters who had an internal struggle that they needed to overcome. Whether it was Cobb in Inception, where he had to deal with his relationship with his wife and letting her go. Whether it was Cooper with Interstellar and the consequences of the choices he had to make. These were all very strong conflicts and moral arguments that were presented to the characters and then to us as the audience. Tenet was lacking in that specific thing. And there's moments where it's there, but it's also not there. And I think that's where there was a missed opportunity. And even the protagonist, I mean, he doesn't really even have a name. His name is the protagonist. And I understand it's an espionage movie and, there's secret identities and things like that. But because of that, I think the movie suffers where we can't really latch on to the main characters. And there's some great acting in this movie. John David Washington has really, I mean, he really did a good job with the role that he was given. Robert Pattinson, I mean, there's a lot of fan theories about his character, which I'm not going to get into right now, but his acting was great. And Elizabeth Debicki, for example, I think her character probably has the most emotional arc, in the strongest emotional arc in the movie, and is definitely the emotional core of the movie. And I just felt like there could have been more. And even the villain, I think the villain, we've come to expect a lot of morally ambiguous villains from a Nolan movie, which is what usually sets these movies apart. And while, Kenneth Branagh, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, forgive me for that, but while he does a fantastic job at portraying the character, I mean, who would have thought Gilderoy Lockhart from Harry Potter would end up this menacing, towering, scary, character that he ends up becoming with a Russian accent? I think he did a great job. I think he acted really well. But again, the character, there were moments where he could have made choices that could have taken the movie to a more morally ambiguous place, and it just didn't go there. And I think, it just left a lot to be desired in that aspect. And then another thing is the sound design and the sound mixing, which has seemed to be a recurring problem in a lot of Nolan movies. And unfortunately, this one is no different. There were many times in this movie where I couldn't really understand what the characters were saying. I couldn't. And especially in a movie where you're going to be expecting a lot of exposition, which is in itself not always a great thing. But when that exposition is coupled with the fact that you can't even hear what they're saying, then it gets very difficult. And it never got to a point where I couldn't follow what's happening. I had a pretty good grip about what's happening throughout the whole movie, although there were probably moments where I thought, what's happening again? But for the most part, I knew what was happening. And I mean, it was the same experience with Inception. So this is definitely more complex than Inception, and so it would require a lot more attention. The problem is sometimes when you are still paying attention, you can't always hear the dialogue very clearly, and that really was a bit of a letdown. Having said that, the soundtrack on its own, the music was top-notch. It was phenomenal. I mean, I was a bit skeptical when they first said that Hans Zimmer would not be the music director for this particular film, because, I mean, the Nolan-Zimmer combo has produced some of the greatest soundtracks of recent times, and I was a bit let down when I heard that they're not going to be teaming up. But then again, that's when Ludwig Göransson came in, and he's been making some amazing soundtracks. I mean, the Black Panther one, the Mandalorian soundtrack, these, they're great soundtracks, and Tenet is no different. This is a top-notch soundtrack. It really gets the adrenaline pumping. Loved it. The sound mixing and the design was poor, but the actual soundtrack and the score, fantastic. In the scenes where there's no dialogue, it's amazing. So overall, that's what I thought about the movie Tenet. In terms of action, set pieces, and spectacle, 10 out of 10. Fantastic. You cannot ask for more. And there are scenes and sequences in this movie that I'm sure you've never seen before in any other movie, which is amazing. And so it still definitely would warrant a movie, an actual theater experience, I would say. However, if you're going in there for strong characters and character development, and if you're somebody who likes those kind of things, I think it might let you down. But the soundtrack is fantastic, and overall, I think I would give the movie a 7.5 out of 10. It's a great movie-going experience, and it's a welcome return to movie theaters. I mean, this COVID pandemic has completely disrupted our lives, and I think this is a great welcoming return to the cinema and the cinematic experience. And it's definitely a film that will be enjoyed in cinemas. And so there you have it. I will be making another video with a more in-depth analysis of the plot of the story, the theories around what could be happening around with the characters, and something just a deeper dive into the whole movie, filled with spoilers. I wanted to keep this one, spoiler free as much as possible. And so there you have it. What did you guys think of Tenet? Was it something about the characters that maybe I didn't pick up on that you guys did? Let me know in the comments below. But as always, stay safe and keep exploring some great storytelling, and I will catch you in the next video. Peace.